Good morning and welcome to this week's recruitment discussion. For those who joined last week, you'll be pleased to know that I have my voice back, which is great. And this week, the discussion will follow on from last week's discussion about candidate services, but it will follow on to how we look to address our client services, whether we look to speed up our mandates to close more jobs and what we're looking for. Last week, I had an interesting week. I was at an event with the REC and one of the business owners stated that everyone knows what recruiters do and how they work. And it was quite interesting. The room sort of didn't quite agree with him. And looking at some of the stats that I've been looking at, neither does most of the stats. If you look at, say, what Monster, what they say that clients are looking for from their recruiters are very different. They're looking, what Monster say is they're looking for people to show the depth of your knowledge, make transparency to earn your fee and how you earn your fee, take a job order meticulously, show a difference that you can make with the candidates, supply workers that are ready to work, have a deeper understanding of your industry that you serve, and look out for clients' long-term interests. But they also want to see continuity within the staffing industry because they're sick of seeing the churn and burn of the staffing industry. However, then, according to NPA worldwide, they say that clients are looking for certainly different things. They say clients care about our recruitment process. They care about the speed that we bring to the recruitment process. They care about the accuracy and the quality of the candidates that we supply. They say that they care about how accepted offers and how often they show up. They also said they care about candidate retention, and they also said they cared about client retention. But when you start to read into this, one of the articles that I sort of thought summed everything up was the 10 things that they thought that clients should look for from an agency. And that was looking to listen to understand, clear communication, keep up to date of the recruitment process, advise on good business processes, set realistic expectations, personalized customer care, lasting impression beats the quick win, deliver on your brand values, and follow through on your word, and finally, provide forward-looking advice. So there's lots of things out there for the recruitment agencies to say, this is what we should be providing as a service to our clients rather than just a traditional contingency, exclusive and retained service. But we've got to start to think, these things sound great. So if our clients trusted recruiters, then would we be able to get more out of recruiters? And what we said when I started to Google what candidate attraction process for the clients should look like, Google came back with the application processes are too long, candidates don't know what to expect from the company, career web pages give bad impressions of the company, advertising in the wrong channels, the clients don't know where to advertise in the right channels, and employers' reviews are not great on Google. So what it says is that we've got lots of things that we touch and have a finger in with regards to services that we're not supplying to clients that we could supply. So this week, I'm joined by Heather and Paul. Dave is away on the Gaza Strip doing some charity work, so good luck to Dave. I hope you stay safe out there. So let's throw this open to Paul and Heather. So let's open the first question. The first question has been a very simple question. Recruiters talk a lot about their unique services, but in reality, I think our services are all very similar. Contingent recruitment, exclusive, retained recruitment, and that's across both temp, contract and perm. So why are recruiters so reluctant to change or develop new services?
Okay. Well, I mean, perhaps I could kick this off. I think, if you look at the history of our industry, I mean, I think the industry has been around for 150 years, something older. And before you say anything, Howard, no, I didn't start 150 years ago. Talk about leading with your chin.
That's an open goal, that is.
I mean, really, honestly, I don't know how I managed to put myself in that place, but it has been going for a very, very long time. And I think, You know, when I've been I've been in the industry as you know for about 45 years, so not quite as long, but I think people have become accustomed in our industry to working in certain tried and trusted ways, and to a large extent, people are fairly hardwired into working in these methods. So, you know, the way we do perm work or temp contract work is pretty much the way we were trained if you've been in the industry for 10, 20, 30, or in my case, 45 years. And getting people to change their attitudes is difficult. I think it's underpinned by fear, the fear of trying something new that clients might find alien, challenging, difficult. You see the same level of fear when you talk to recruitment owners when we discuss things like price changing, upping prices, for example. So I do feel that a lot of what goes on in the industry is because we have been trained in a certain way and therefore we carry on working in that way, despite the fact that we can see so many changes in the industry right now. And we're going to sure talk about this later on. But I think I've always worked this way. It's worked pretty well for me up till now. And I'm going to carry on working this way. And I train my people to work this way. And there is a fear, as I say, of trying different things that may lead to loss of business potentially or alienating clients and candidates. And that kind of fear culture, I think, is what drives this kind of hardwired attitude to recruitment that we see.
I'm going to disagree with you because it's
No.
fun. But actually, I think our industry has evolved over the many hundreds of years that I've been involved in it too. So whilst I agree there are definitely pockets of reluctance to change, the reality is recruitment is about matching great people with great jobs. And changing people's lives, and that isn't going to change, right? So what we do is fundamentally the same, but the way in which we do it has changed dramatically over the time. I think as an industry we're great at embracing technology, for example. You know, we're the ones showing clients new technology, video interviewing and things like that. It's the recruitment industry that are showing clients how that works and how it's valuable. So I think actually we're pretty good at change within the context of what we do is match great people with great jobs, right? And that isn't ultimately gonna change.
I think that's a very interesting sort of view from both sides, and I'm going to sort of jump in the middle and say I agree with one and don't agree with the other from both sides on that. I think the fear culture is actually there, but I think the fear culture is not about developing new services. It's the fact that we have a fear culture because we don't feel trusted by our clients and our clients don't trust us. So we've created this sort of trust and loyalty where there is, you know, we claim that there is uniqueness to our services and this is what uniqueness is. And yet when clients look at what's unique, they've been told by every other agency exactly the same thing that's unique to them. And it's all the same. So we're saying the same thing. So what we're saying is when we then start to say that we're honest on our website as part of our company values, clients laugh at us because they're saying, you're saying this is unique, but every 10 agencies that have come to me before have said exactly the same thing. So we don't deliver on our brand promises and our communication isn't clear. So when we start to think about forward-thinking advice, how often does a client ring you up about forward-thinking advice? So what we're saying is that, you know, yes, we embrace technology, but all we're doing is changing technology for the same thing that we did before, but now it's been done by technology. So we're not actually increasing our services or changing our services. It's just that technology is now delivering that service rather than the human being. So I think there's a slightly sort of different sort of view of that from there. So when we start to think about, you know, creating loyalty and trust and advocacy with our clients, we need to have a deeper, healthier relationship. And so I think when we start to think about changing our services, we need to sort of change the way we approach our service and have a deeper, healthier relationship with our services. You know, so we sell our services hard, but we seldom provide what I would class as the glue to stick our services together with our clients. So our clients use us constantly and actually become that trusted advisor to our clients. And I think we live too much in the day and not enough in the future to actually look what we can provide to our clients. So I think I've got a foot in both camp, but I'm kicking as well as keeping you in on both sides. That I think there is a fear culture there. I don't think technology has changed our services. It's just improved our services and made our services quicker and faster, but it hasn't actually changed the services that we provide to us.
But I actually don't think it should. So that's my argument. How, before you move on to your next question, fundamentally, recruiters are there to find great candidates for our clients.
Yeah, that's
all
absolutely
the other
true.
stuff is how we do it well. Yeah, and Annette's comment is great.
And
it's about the nuances of how we do it well.
How we do it well.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If we look at that, then clients have told us that if recruitment agencies came to the table with a genuine, unique, or an initiative of an offering, that they would listen. So what could we offer to get clients to engage more?
So look, I think we've said this, and I think the one thing we do agree on, and I think we are actually aggressively agreeing with each other in one shape or form here, but the thing that we all agree on is that essentially it's very hard to say that what we do as a recruitment business is unique. I mean, that phrase unique is virtually impossible. I mean, we have in many instances the same candidates to offer as our competitors. The standard or the quality of the people we employ within our businesses are by and large fairly similar and so forth. So how do you separate yourself from others? And I think, Annette's point's very true. It's about developing those deep relationships with clients, which absolutely comes down to people buying people. It's always been like that. It's about relationship building. And of course, we know that building relationships, trusted advisor relationships, isn't something that you can achieve with a few phone calls. It takes time. In fact, it can sometimes take years. So it's about the quality of the people we engage in our business and how we support and train and develop them. And it's absolutely about everything we do to develop relationships. And we're talking clients, but it's also true to say it's the same with candidates who are often clients who then become candidates and so forth. Same deal, just people at different points in their careers. So what do we do? What can we offer to clients to engage more? I think that's about really recognizing our expertise. I mean, we are recruitment professionals. We know our stuff. And we're also well aware of our particular sectors, the sectors we work in, and our expertise within those sectors. We have information and knowledge that is broader and deeper very often than the information and knowledge that our clients have in our particular areas of expertise, which we need to pass to them, which you can do, as Howard says, when you're involved and you meet with people on a regular basis and you're working as a consultant, a proper consultant, rather than somebody dispatching CVs on a daily basis. So for me, it's about looking at our expertise. What can we use that we actually often think are areas of expertise that perhaps we think offer little value, but from our client's perspective offer great value. I mean, typically people offer things like salary surveys. We see that quite regularly, and information about sectors. But I also think, and I've said this many times, that we can extend the breadth and depth of our services beyond placing great people in great jobs, which Heather correctly says is exactly what we do. So, for example, post-placement, there's no reason why we can't provide onboarding services, no reason why we can't provide mentoring services to the people that we've placed in jobs, for example. If we extend our thinking over and above what we already do, layering additional services, added value services to what we do, then we can start to distance ourselves from our competitors, who in the main, it often is the case, just provide candidates. I say just provide candidates. I'll caveat that, hopefully just provide great candidates, but you can layer the services you provide with a whole range of other services, thereby providing invaluable support to your clients on a long-term basis. This webinar won't give us the time to go into a whole range of ideas, but those initiatives I think can be easily constructed when you sit down with your people, or indeed with people like us, and come up with a broad range of added value services. Last point here is that it would be wrong to assume what your clients think, what you think they want. It's really important to be in front of them regularly, understanding what they want and tailoring your services to them on a customized basis, making sure they get services from you that are right for them, not generic services that you think are right for them.
Yeah, I'm going to fundamentally agree with you.
Whoa!
There's a great list of extra things that we can do there. Fundamentally, it comes down to, can we do something they can't do for themselves?
Yes.
Or can we do something that they could do for themselves, but we can do it better? And I really do think that comes down to our level of expertise, which is often undervalued and we undersell, our level of specialism. You know, they might know about their industry, but do they know about marketeers if you're a recruitment business that provides marketeers? Or do they understand about people development specialists? Or do they understand about how you go and find structural engineers? You know, what is your specialism? What is it you're offering them that they don't know themselves? And at the moment, it is all about candidates. So can we find candidates for them that they can't find themselves? Because we know where to go and look for them, because we've already engaged with every structural engineer in their market. And so therefore we know who's available and where they are. So, you know, it's about finding those things that we know better than they do, or we can do better than they can do. And then actually price stops being an issue, doesn't it? Because they'll pay us for that additional expertise and specialism.
It's interesting. I think when you start to think about it in that fashion, I remember with one of my clients, they asked me to help them pull the presentation together, and then they asked me to go and help and actually present to the client. And so we trekked off to this hotel, and there's a table with about 8 or 9 people around the table from the client side, and we were the 7th of 7 agencies to actually go and present to them. And my opening presentation was, when I'd worked out that we were the last of everybody, my opening presentation was, I'm sure you've heard everyone talk about their unique process, their unique candidate base, their unique this, their unique that, the unique the other. I said, let me hear and tell you now, that's not true. And they all sort of stopped, and the room went a little bit quiet, and the owner of the business sort of looked at me thinking, have you lost your mind? I said, every agency can do this. Let me tell you what's different about us. Open the door, and we brought the whole team in. And they sat there and went and said, these are the people who are actually going to deliver your product. They're going to deliver the product to you, and how we deliver that product. What we want you to do is ask these guys questions of what you've got the biggest fear about. And we absolutely walked away with the client an exclusive deal. One of the people who'd presented to them had been their master vendor for 7 years. And they said, you're the only agency that came and was open and honest and showed you who you actually were. And that was the difference that sort of gauged when you start to engage. And Paul had written up there, people by people. And it's not people by people. I think people by people they trust and like. And they found that they trusted us, and they found that we got a personal relationship and created a personal relationship right across the whole business with them right from the get-go. And that's what sort of separated out. So I think once we start to engage with clients more, I think we have to be more honest with clients. I think we have to be more open. And what you're saying, Heather, is absolutely right. You know, we have to be better at other people. We have to be able to provide something that they can't provide themselves, but we have to be honest about what we can and what we cannot provide and what's going on. And that's what we're not open about enough. And I think that's when we start to see a difference. When you engage on that personal level, you start to get a deeper interaction with your clients. You know, I say almost probably weekly on here that, you know, recruiter relationship is a prospect to suspect relationship. So then let's flip the question. How do you create a true prospect to prospect relationship with a client?
You know, we've been talking about this a lot. I've been talking to my clients a great deal, particularly recently, about the need for us to be in front of our clients again. I mean, this has been extremely difficult for, as everybody knows, over the last few years, to actually meet in person our clients. We've substituted that with video calls. But the fact is, getting in front of people is vitally important, and people are back at work again. Maybe not 5 days a week, but they are back in work again. Now, video content is fine. We can certainly talk to people via video. I think, as you said at the top of the discussion, that's what people are doing now. But there is no substitute for face-to-face conversations and regular face-to-face conversations. I always say that we should never go more than 3 months maximum without seeing clients face-to-face. We should be consistently having quarterly review meetings, or if it's a high volume client, and we've all got experience of this, speaking to them, even seeing them every week. That level of familiarity, getting closer and closer to customers, really understanding their needs, not just reacting to what they're asking you to do, but being proactive, becoming a trusted advisor, understanding and anticipating what their needs are so that you can provide solutions to them before these challenges become issues, is vitally important. The only way that you can separate your services from the recruitment pack is to be consistently seen by your client. That is actually face-to-face in many instances. There is no shortcut. No amount of emails or phone calls is going to provide you with the level of relationship that you need to separate yourself from your competitors. You have to get in front of them. And I don't think that's changed one jot since I started in the industry all those years ago. That familiarity leading to that trusted advisor relationship enables you to gain exclusivity, to gain retained business, to enables you to increase your pricing where that's relevant and so forth, and provide you with the opportunity to give those added value services we talked about earlier. There is no substitute. You have to do that. That means we have to train and coach our people to be able to go and arrange those meetings, which in itself is never easy, and then conduct the meetings professionally in order to start to develop those relationships, which, by the way, as I said earlier, doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to build these relationships. And that is the only answer. You can look for more technical reasons. We could talk about that at length. But the bottom line is you need to build trusted relationships, which comes from consistently consulting with your clients, best done face to face.
So to put that succinctly,
I'm glad someone is.
So one of my favourite books, actually, but that I think all recruiters ought to read is,
Jenna and
and
John
it's been around
Bookwood.
a really, really long time. It's Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Successful People.
Absolutely. Yes.
And one of his habits is seek first to understand, then to be understood. And for me, that's what you're talking about, Paul, right? We go and meet our clients face to face because we want to understand what they need, what they want, what their problems are, what their pain points are, what their punch points, and then we want them to understand us, what we can offer. And it's that trusted relationship that we build. So I'm acutely aware of time. Seek first to understand, then to be understood should be absolutely our mantra with creating prospect to prospect relationships.
So when you talk about that, you think about every client we see as a prospect, they see as a suspect, but as an industry, we constantly reaffirm why clients see us as suspects.
Yeah.
Simply ask your client. When we sat down with that client in that meeting, we asked them about the service they had, and they all talked about the shoddy service that the recruiters had given them and how we perpetuated that situation by telling them how good they were, and then they were getting completely opposite in the service.
Yeah.
So if we want to change perception, then we've got to actually start living the values that we promote proudly on our website. And I keep saying I hate the word honest at the moment because I think every recruiter uses that word in a very, very slack way because we're not really honest with our clients. But we've also got to say that clients aren't always right, but they have to feel valued. And I think that's what you're both talking about. They have to feel valued. So we have to understand them. That's creating a better and deeper relationship with them. And if they start to feel valued, then you're providing things that can help advance their decision-making process. They can start to advance their ability to attract and retain staff. Then they start to see us as a prospect. And once they start to see us as a prospect, then that true relationship starts to create. And it does evolve over time, Paul, you're right. And we've got to become sticky with our clients. But that means we've got to stop providing shoddy service and start to live in with our values. So I think if we want to create a proper prospect to relationship basis of a relationship, then it has to be value-based. So,
and your slide, actually, Howard, that you've chosen here is perfect, isn't it? Because your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. Listening to that webinar we did, I mean, it's a while ago now, where we listened to clients talking to us about what they wanted to do. It was really about, even for those of us who've been in this industry for years, hearing it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, about what it is that our clients don't like about our industry, and then making sure we go out of our way to be different.
So quickly,
absolutely.
in your opinion then, what's the single most important service that recruiters can provide to clients?
Okay, so in simple terms, consistently attracting and promoting the best talent in the market to our clients. In other words, I mean, Heather, we were talking earlier about candidate shortages before we got onto the webinar. Everybody that's listening to this will know that's our largest challenge at the moment. 1.3 million vacancies in this country, and so everybody's suffering from a lack of available candidates for our clients. They're crying out for candidates. So in a word or in a phrase, absolutely, we need to be a magnet for outstanding talent. If we don't achieve that at a basic level, we're not much use to anybody. So frankly, finding them brilliant candidates, and just to add to the point, the best candidates in the market, not on the market, is our most valuable service to our clients.
Yeah. I agree with you, and I'm going to come up with something different only because we want variety. So in addition to what Paul said, because I completely agree with you, for me it's about knowledge and truth. So how many of our clients are their own worst enemies because there's something in their organization or in their process often which is stopping them getting the best candidates. So honesty and knowledge and expertise to help them be able to promote themselves as a good employer and to have a slick process that doesn't put people off.
So I think I agree that it's absolutely candidates. That's what the Engage is for. But however, last week's stat said that 50% of most clients go through a different channel than a recruitment agency. And so I think we've got to start to think the way we proclaim to have an extensive candidate database, do we really? Because when we start to think about that, how often does a client ring up and we say, yes, I'll go away and find candidates for you. And then we have to find the candidate because we actually haven't got that candidate on our database. We have to procure that candidate. So we need to be closer to our candidates, as our clients, and to understand what their recruitment needs and timelines are, so we can then pre-build genuine candidate databases. So when they want the candidates, we have them ready available. And if we had candidates ready available, how much more proficient would we be to the client and how much more valued would we be? At the moment, the clients come and ask us for something and we go and find it. That's something they can do themselves. But if we already had the candidates, we would be in a far different position. And that's a big leap of faith from both parties, from the candidates and the client side point of view, to let us in on their recruitment strategies. And that, I think, to me, is the most important service that we can provide is candidates, but they have to let us in what their recruitment strategies are so we can go and be proactive rather than reactive. So if we start to think that that's the biggest service we can provide, do we think the way we offer our services need to change?
I think these days, and Heather made this point earlier, and I think it's a very valid point. I think these days, every recruitment consultant needs to be a proficient marketeer and networker. We know it's hard to find candidates. I speak consistently to clients about their own candidate database because there is a tendency, I find, for recruitment consultants to just immediately place their new jobs onto a job board, thereby spending money, of course, when actually we often already have those candidate details on our database. Maybe the candidate data is a bit old, but we've already spent money attracting those candidates. We have that information, and yet we go and spend money again to attract the very same candidates all over again. It's crazy. I think that a large element of what recruitment consultants have to do today, perhaps it's different to the old days in inverted commas, is they have to be consistently engaging with candidates in a variety of ways, whether that's social media, whether that's through a planned program of initiatives that enables the businesses to continue to engage with their very valuable candidate data, whether that is phone calls or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's about being a brilliant networker and marketeer, whether that is marketing your own brand, the brand of the business, or your own personal brand, which is actually two slightly separate things, but it's absolutely about that. So how do we change services is related to our ability to network back to the earlier point to enable us to consistently find the best talent in the market. And to your point, Howard, you're absolutely right, to be ahead of the game, not waiting for the orders to come in, but knowing the orders are going to come in months in advance, if that's possible, so that we're prepared and we're not in a position, therefore, where we are potentially letting our clients down.
I think I described ourselves a couple of months ago as the worst Argos shop in the world. That people come in, they give their Argos order, and we disappear into the back room where no one knows what's going on. But the Argos people come out straight away with the product. We spend weeks trying to find that product. So our warehouse is huge. So it means we're going to get a better warehouse system somewhere in there. So I think our services has to change. How we deliver our service and what we do with our service has to change. And if you can imagine, if a client came to you and you just said, here are 3 candidates that's available straight away, what a difference that would be to the client. What a difference that would make. And so how we deliver our services have to change, and how we talk to our client has to change. And that's all about that interaction, Paul, isn't it, with the client? And we need to become a more proactive service than a reactive service.
Yeah, exactly.
Heather, you've been on the buyer side of this end, buying services into recruitment agencies. What do you think services need to change?
So I'd answer a slightly different question to the one you've asked, actually, Howard. It's not about how we offer our services, because I completely agree with everything that you've just said. But to add that, it's about how we provide our services. So I think we can, as an industry, make even better use of technology to build stronger relationships and to communicate more effectively. I think there's a real role that outsourcing has to play in reinventing the role of a recruiter, so that our recruitment consultants focus on the bits of the job they're great at and the bits of the job that the client sees and that they're focused on, and using some lower cost solutions like automation, like technology, like outsourcing, to enable us to be consultants, to have time spent on those added value relationships that make our clients sticky. So I think there's some really interesting change in the provision of service rather than the offer necessarily.
Yeah.
So here's a question then. If you're talking about the way that we sell our services and the way we bring our service together, if we split selling and negotiation out, where the selling side focuses on the client agreeing and understanding what they're buying before we price, what you're talking about, Heather, is a slightly different thing. The question is then, how do we achieve that with our clients?
My personal, I have these conversations on a regular basis. I'm sure you guys do, especially recently, where we've talked about having to increase margins or profits, charges, I should say, because of the current rate of inflation, particularly keeping our profits as tight as we can, not losing money because of the costs of running a business. But I often have the conversations where people ask me, well, how do we approach increasing prices or negotiating better charges? I think there are 2 separate issues here. I think it's about, to the point we've been making, understanding what clients want. And I think understanding what clients want leads into the conversation about pricing. You can't set a price on the provision of contract temp staff or permanent labour if you have limited or no real deep understanding of what your clients need or want. So I think it begins with a deep understanding, not just about what they want now, but in my opinion, more importantly, what they're going to need in the next 12 months, in order to then be able to step back from that conversation and consider what services they need, what the breadth of service is that you're going to have to provide, and then establish what the price is going to be. You simply can't have a conversation about pricing without evaluating, deep evaluation of your client's requirements. Otherwise, you're going to miss the target consistently. I think the other point here is we should make sure, it's just a quick point, that we don't lock ourselves into pricing for longer than maximum a 12-month period, because of the volatile nature of what's going on around us presently, around inflation and global events. I've always felt that, by the way, even prior to today's events. And we make sure that that is written down, that we have concrete agreements in place with our clients that specify when pricing will be reviewed, so that we're not in a position where we have these prices going on forever and ever and ever. So I think these are two separate points, really. It's understanding clients that leads to understanding what the appropriate pricing should be.
And I think it depends massively on where you are in your relationship with your client.
Yep.
So if we're early on in the relationship, it's a transactional relationship. It's effectively they feel they're buying widgets, we're supplying widgets, it's very price sensitive, and it's an early stage in the relationship. What we want to be doing is moving towards feeling that we're in a partnership with our client.
Yeah.
So our whole trajectory is moving to deep relationships with our clients where they value our advice, our consulting, our partnership. We're part of the solution to their problems. We deeply understand and anticipate their problems, and we become the solution. And the relationship just stops being price sensitive. And so we're not having a debate about price on a transactional basis because they're buying widgets. We're a partner, and the partner has a value.
Absolutely. And to that point, when you reach that position of getting, as how would you use the word, advocacy, where clients are advocates of your services, it is normal that you should be charging more than your competitors, because obviously the service you're providing is significantly superior to anything they would likely receive elsewhere. So consequently, you should be at that premium level. And the only reason, arguably, that you might drop the charges would be based upon volume or a specific model of recruitment that you're providing. But overall, if you're providing superior service, unquestionably, your fees should be consistent with that.
So I think when you start to think really deeply about that, the way we then sell our recruitment services needs to change, because we seem to sell our recruitment services once, fix a price, then pull, and that price then lasts for eternity.
Yeah, exactly.
But the way we sell our services is that we give everything all at once. We never compartmentalize that sale down into individual chunks, and we give the price at the same time. And so the clients then got the opportunity to hack our prices down, rather than actually sitting with our client, talking about what services they want, agreeing those services, agreeing up front what that services looks like, and that includes all the added information that we can give, the data that we can give, etc. And then once they feel that they have the service that they feel that is right for their business and can get the right candidates, we feel it's right for us and we can deliver on that service, then we can give a price. And I think it's then and only then that we can give a price. So I think we need to sort of split our services down into selling into one area and then negotiating in another area and getting that right, because it gives the client, at the moment, the way we sell our services gives the client very little choice, but gives all the power to reduce our fees, where if we actually broke our services down, it gives the client maximum choice, and then we have a maximum opportunity to retain our fees. And so we've got to talk about the way that we go away to clients and focus on their needs, but then that goes back to that honesty bit, focus on what we can actually deliver. And that way you can go all the way through the process every month, every quarter, every annual, every year, talking about what their recruitment processes are. And we can suddenly say, well, your recruitment processes have suddenly increased, have died away, therefore we'll increase our price, reduce our price, etc., according to what the client needs, rather than just be, we're waiting for you to call us today to give us a job that we know 8% of the jobs that you give us today, you've planned at least 6 to 12 months ago.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
So if
but
we
there's
then
also the opportunity, Howard, sorry, before you move on, that, I think everybody on this call knows how important that selling and negotiating piece is with our clients and our candidates. It's such a massive opportunity for setting the relationship. And I think the more time we as owners of businesses and coaches and managers spend helping the consultants who are having those conversations,
Yes.
you know, reviewing how well they're doing at it, running over, you know, even recording the conversations and going back over what they could have done better.
Absolutely
I just think
correct.
there's such a great learning opportunity in
Yeah.
But
that.
I am shocked at how many clients I go into and have conversations with who don't actually understand what their products are and how they're selling their products, because it's all rammed together in one big jumble, and therefore they can't understand what is price and value and how to price that. And that's the bit they've got to understand, is what are they actually trying to sell to clients? What are you actually trying to sell to that client? What's the benefit to that client? And that's the bit they don't understand. And if you think then, when we talk about giving clients extras daily, we're bombarded with data. We have data coming out of our ears as recruitment agencies. So what data do you believe would help clients make a more informed decision when buying services to enable recruitment agencies to increase their pricing structure?
Look, I think this is almost, we've probably answered this in the previous comments, that when you're looking at what you provide to people by way of data or information, that is going to be customized. It should be customized because you're close enough to your customer to understand what's important to them. I mean, there are generic things we send out correctly. You know, lots of posts. Everybody sees these posts and the blogs that go out on a regular basis, on a daily basis on LinkedIn, and get sent via email marketing and so forth to clients. That's fine. There's a place for that. But if you want to separate yourself from your competitors and you want to understand what they would find useful by way of data, I mean, I could give you a long list of things that I think would be valued by clients, but actually I'd then put it in my back pocket, because I would say all of that is relevant, but it would depend on what your client wants. And I think rather than being prescriptive, saying here's a whole long list of things we can provide to you, if you're close enough to your clients, you'll know what they need. And if you know what they need, and it's our job to go and make that happen. I mean, just to the earlier point, Howard, at the end of the day, what we should be entirely focused upon is providing, and I know this is a cliche, but I can't think of another phrase, but we should be focused purely on providing world-class customer service to our clients and candidates. The pricing then goes on top of that. If you are focused on providing an experience to your clients and candidates that is in excess, that is superior to what anyone else provides, then naturally you're in a stronger position to have a conversation about pricing. If you are unable to do that, you don't do that, you're invisible, you're one of the recruitment pack, why on earth would you be able to get a higher price than anybody else? No one's going to pay you more if what they perceive is that the service levels you provide are the same as everybody else's. It's simply not going to happen. So the fact is, we have to be, to the point here, customized with what we provide people.
And I'll give you a different angle on this, as you'd expect me to. I'm not sure it's price related, but I do think the one piece of data that many recruitment businesses miss a trick on is diversity and inclusion data.
Yep.
So, you know, so many clients are interested in that, and we should have that at our fingertips, and it ought to be possible to have that data. And I do think there aren't enough recruiters who are collecting and using that data, and that could be a differentiator for you in some markets. So think about your diversity and inclusion data.
If you think about what we've said all the way through this, and we think about what we talked about right at the beginning, what Google said was the application process is too long. So how much data can give them to the client about improving their application process? Candidates don't know what to expect from a company because clients don't really want to engage too much with us taking job specs. They're too busy just to send us a job spec rather than us to involve that job spec. Their career websites are really poor and give bad impressions. How often do you go onto a client and tell them, look, your career website's preventing you for this, that, and the other? Because even if they're coming through an agency, they're still going to go, the candidate's still going to Google that website as soon as they know what the client is, etc. They use the wrong channels. So we've got to start to think all of this data that we have, we can start to build a better product service round delivering that candidate to help expedite the delivery of that candidate and help smooth the process of that candidate going through that recruitment funnel. Because at the moment we make it really hard for the candidates to go through that funnel. And if more candidates then would be or feel that they are engaged in that process, then they would feel more value. And that's about delivering your brand value. But if you start to think about keeping the client up to date, good advice, what's going on, provide forward thinking advice, then we're being very open with our clients. But we talk about one of the things that clients feel that was really important to them was setting realistic expectations. How many people are taking jobs at the moment and saying to the client, no, I can't feel that. No, I definitely can't feel that. I can't feel that, rather than taking the job because it's a tick on their KPI board. So I think when we talk about, increasing prices, well, you're both right. To increase prices, they have to see the value in what we're providing, and they have to see where we can expedite their recruitment processes, but then elongate the tenure of the candidate. I know, I don't know where it came from, but I'll put it down as you speed up. We've got to speed up the process, just so you can understand there, Heather, in the Midlands. But we've got to start to think about, from our clients' point of view, that's what they want, though. And if we can then increase the tenure of their staff, I have spoke with the client yesterday and said, go back and look at the clients that you placed over the last 3 years and find out how many have left. And she said, why do you want to do that for? I said, well, if you can work out that, of the people that you've placed over the last 3 years, still 80, 90% are still there, what a great thing to sell to a client, as this is the quality of the candidates that you provide. But no one looks at that type of data because they don't think it's worthy looking at. So to me, looking at that type of data, whether it be a temp, whether it be a contractor, whether it be a perm person, gives a client a view of your value and why they're working with us. Okay, so a very quick question to finish with, because we're right on time here. Okay, we know clients are not loyal. We know recession potentially is coming, and therefore getting clients to become more loyal and sticky with us is going to be really important. So how do we change that from this point today to when recession comes, to get more clients to become more loyal with us, so when recession comes, they carry on buying from us rather than going elsewhere?
So do the groundwork now. Get out in front of clients. Speak to your people, make sure that a major focus over the next 3 to 5 months are client meetings, because once we hit the winter, which potentially could be tough, it's too late at that point. You need to be in front of them and preparing in advance. And remember something really important, because we talk about clients.
Quick, we've got 2 minutes. Quick.
Yep. I'm talking fast because you don't take too long when you answer questions. I just want you to know that. So remember, it's about the individual you're working with, the person. It's certainly about the company, but it's getting to know that person and understanding what that person needs. It's about humans working with humans.
Thank you, Paul. That was a delightful.
You're most welcome. Now be quick.
I'm feeling really optimistic today. The sun is shining. Okay, I'm going to throw out there that maybe there isn't a recession coming. Right, so there's an economic recession potentially, right? There's a lot of headwind, but there's still really candidate short. So even if the economy goes off a bit, we're still candidate short. And so I think that there's still a real play. You look at the number of vacancies, still the data from the REC, 1.3 million vacancies in the UK. It's still up there despite the economy going off. So I suspect that there's still going to be some really exciting business for recruiters to do. And then in terms of candidate loyalty, I was really loyal to the recruitment businesses I dealt with when I was a consumer of recruitment services. And that was because the ones I chose to deal with gave me great candidates and great service. And so I think clients are loyal to the recruitment businesses that give them great service, and we need to keep doing that.
I think that's they're loyal to the agencies that give them great service.
Yeah.
But I always think when the World Bank and people like that are starting to project what's going on, we need to plan for the worst and therefore hope for the best will happen. I know that hope's not a great strategy, but if we plan for the worst and start to really lock our businesses down in that fashion, and if it doesn't come, then we'll be accelerating even further and quicker away from those agencies that haven't done any of that planning and haven't thought about client retention, candidate retention. So all those things are about changing that. And that's then going back to that loyalty and advocacy stage with our clients. Clients will work with people that they like and trust, and they'll continue to work with the people they like and trust when the market turns bad. At the moment, they're disloyal because they're all desperate for people. So I think that's what we need to look at. So next week, we're going to finish this series on basically on candidate and client services, etc. We're going to finish it on a different note. This next week is where Heather's going to come into her own, and Paul, we can have a go at Heather on it.
Yes.
Next week we're going to.
I can't wait till next Wednesday.
Next week we're going to discuss about the contracts we have with our consultants. We know that a lot of consultants have been poached at the moment and are leaving and going elsewhere, etc. So how much gravity does your contract actually have with your consultants? So from a HR point of view, Heather Solway,
right up your alley, Heather.
I like that one.
Heather's just booked a holiday. Anyway, so it'll be really interesting next week to have a discussion on that, because everybody thinks they've got a really good, strong, watertight contract and how it works. It'll be interesting to have a proper discussion about those type of contracts and whether they are worth the paper they are written on. Because at the moment, I'm hearing so many different things on that, I think we need to address that and have that as a proper public outing on the poor quality or the great quality of the contracts that we provide to our own staff. So, ladies and gents, thanks very much for this week. It's been much appreciated. I hope you enjoy the sun. Mr. Jacobs, keep out of it. Heather, I'll find another long word for you next week. I don't know what it will be longevity or something like that. But there you go. So, thanks very much for your time.
See you guys.
See you all next week.
Bye, everybody.
Cheers. Bye.